Yes, hello, this is Dr. Lueth again. This is the second try. Sometimes there's been some stuff going on. And so when somebody comes and knocks on my door, I can't keep going. I have to deal with it right when it comes at me. So sometimes I just have to say, okay, sorry, I gotta go. So that was quick, actually. It is 12:58 p.m. Eastern Time, New York, USA. I'm Dr. Lueth. It is October 28th, 2025. It is a Winnipeg Jets game day. Go Jets! From the Maryland satellite fan club office here in Maryland. I know there's a few who from California and other places, so I know I'm not the only fan out there who is not living in Canada or Winnipeg. Uh, and so I am grateful that I can at least listen to the games. So that is good news. It's like I was saying, that oh no, they're back. They're back. Please don't knock on my door. Like I can't. Right. There's stuff going on right now I can't really talk about. But anyway, I mean it's pretty obvious, right? Fewer bad penalties. And the guys do have to kind of play a tighter game and pay a little more attention, but yes, a little extra effort in the second period might help. I will say this. Oh, that might be. Let me see. Oh, watch check in 30 minutes. So I know in 30 minutes I have to be done in 30 minutes because check in with Sarah and Jamie. Right. So they talk for a half hour about some things. And I get some information about maybe projected lines and things like that. So, um, the the main thing is that what all the Jets fans have to remember is that some guys are stepping up, and it's not like the coaches and the players. I'm sure they understand fewer penalties. PK doesn't need that much practice. He's got practice. You know what I'm trying to say. So also upping the level of play in the second period. But all things considered, the losses really haven't been too bad because I've seen a lot of the highlights and I've seen parts and pieces of the game, and it's just like, well, it could be a whole crap load worse. And they're sort of like managing and holding on and stepping up sort of temporarily while we're waiting for key players who are injured to be able to get back on the ice and play. And there is good news. A couple of them were seen without just with regular jerseys. So yeah, once they start playing contact again, they're on their way back to the lineup. So that's good news. Um, I am not a negative Nelly. I mean, I wouldn't want to be on an NHL. To be honest, some people so critical. You're so freaking critical, and if you went out on NHL ice, like you'd be in the corner crying, begging for your mommy. Okay, like I'm not one of those kind of fans. I mean, it's only October for crying out loud. Like, and the people with the stats, I know that there are a few, especially from the fellows at Jets at Noon, and one in particular, right? Just right, pretty much. It's like, hey, vent it out, man, because I get it. Like, you see some things written, and it's just all numbers and stats, and it's just like, well, those are actually irrelevant to the game as a whole, and who cares about that stuff? Like, some of it is really out of context. Some of it indicates that the person writing it doesn't really understand the game or what it's like to play a game or what it's like on NHL ice or, doubtful they've ever been athletic or have had a coach or have worked for an organization where you're being asked to do things that could change throughout the year, personnel changing a lot. I I just try to ignore that the best I can, but it's hard. It is numbers willy nilly, and it's just like people probably not coming from a former hockey player. My connection is unstable. I may not sit on here for long, but that's my situation. As I'm grateful that I have. I've been learning a lot about Winnipeg and about confusion circle. Yeah, I hear the news from C job and I say C job. It's 680. And so I'm kind of like catching up to how things happen. But for the first 10 years after I switched to teams, I just stayed quiet and listened and learned. But now I didn't say more. I just don't pay much attention to certain things. But people do tend to write in about ice hockey, and it's sort of like, well, I don't really think you understand the game. And ice hockey is not like American football. I mean, you don't have a playbook. You don't just like this one goes there and that one. And also, a lot of people, I've noticed that people get paid, people don't get paid. Blogs, podcasts, things like that. Um, it's it's almost as though you're like taking it, and I can't say this enough, as though they're not playing another team. Okay, the other team always factors in what your team is doing. Oops, chat disconnected, successfully connected. All right, that's what I'm saying. Is just always bear that in mind, no matter who your hockey team is, but particularly Jets fans. Like, uh, you know, the, the other team figures things out. Okay, every team in the NHL has the ability to beat every other team in the NHL. Maybe not often, right? I mean, there's some that are more younger. They're looking to build to be playoff ready. So jump up, bite you in the butt. Okay, it happens all the time. We should all recognize that that can happen, no matter where they are in the stats or things like that. So yeah, I mean, in the standings, it's like a misperceived situation. Um, so, but I do keep putting out there, reminding people, hey, okay, they don't have total control over what the hell's going on all the time, and it's never just one person. It's never just one person. It's never just the goalie or just the goal scorers. Right? You win as a team, you lose as a team. That is the end of the story. Okay, right. I mean, I know that now that Jonathan Taze has gotten on the board, he's still warming up people. Okay, from being away and from understanding Jets hockey and gelling with the guys. It's still happening. Like, I don't think he's at full toesness yet. Okay, so there's just so many impatient people. There's just so much written that I'm just like, what? Yeah, that's if they're like playing. They're not playing another team. Okay, there's pressure put on them. There's all kinds of other stuff. I just you have to understand that the other team does actually factor in what your team is doing, whether you like it or not. It isn't just, and it's never just one player or just one goal. It's never just, oh, this one doesn't do that now. Okay, well, whatever. Okay, I'm just going to trust the franchise. Right? The coaches know what they're looking at. Okay, the players, they get to, when they get a chance to look at some video, they have video coaches. Okay, I know that obviously you listen to Scott Arnell and I don't know. I've heard people say Arnell. Sorry, if I'm pronouncing it wrong. Coach Scott, right? And he mentions things that might need to be looked at and worked on, and but he also mentions that there's good stuff that happens, and some are right. They're getting some good looks and some shot, and it's just sometimes it's just a question. I mean, once it goes in, it's sort of like then they feel more confident. Some are still building. I'm nowhere near as critical as some other people, and I sometimes don't understand why people want to say that they love ice hockey, that they're ice hockey fans. I'm just like, well, it doesn't seem like you're an ice hockey fan. I mean, it's probably going to give you a heart attack. Maybe you should rethink this. Okay, particularly your own team. Like, you know, what's exciting when your team scores a goal. I don't care if it's the ugliest goal ever. Doesn't have to be pretty as long as it's a goal. Okay, uh, it's exciting when your team gets 2 points in regulation and then moves on. It's exciting when your team does actually get into the playoffs. It's exciting when your team actually does go deep into the playoffs. Right? Some of the things that happened in the 0405 lockout and the collective bargaining, like certain things were put in, like the removal of the two line. Well, I mean, by 2009, I certainly was not oblivious to the fact that the kinds of injuries were getting more deadly and could break a neck or a back, and the high speed kind of collisions and things like that. So, you know, since then, some things have changed. Hybrid icing makes it a little safer. And, keeping the feet down, not using the elbow. We're trying to get these things like thoroughly through the entirety of the NHL all the way. But I did start noticing the kinds of injuries. So I understand that you want some exciting ice hockey, but I don't want ice hockey that is more deadly than it used to be just for excitement sake. So I understand why certain penalties are the way they are. There's just a lot that I understand. Um, and, so all I'm saying is defensive responsibility. Okay, you can still have high scoring games, but maybe you don't need them that high scoring. Okay, there are people who know exactly what I'm saying. It's just true. Right. It's just true that, you know, once they started moving more quickly and certain things, those high impact hits, whiplash, certain things that happen. So, it has to be looked at. Sometimes your team has to play slower. Sometimes your team has to play a little quicker. Sometimes your team has to, be creative about splitting the D. Sometimes, but they do that on the fly. And let me tell you, I guarantee you, some of the fastest thinkers on planet Earth have to be National Hockey League players. You understand? They have to be. Like, there's stuff that they consider that, like, would make our heads hurt. You can see it sometimes. Like, sometimes the guy might be ready to, change shifts, but he happens to notice that the other team is changing, and that's like that leaves a hole wide open. Okay, there's all sorts of considerations these guys have to make, second, millisecond by millisecond decisions, and everybody should just still appreciate the fact that this is a sport. It is a very difficult sport to play. It's not like baseball. It's not like football. Okay? I mean, it's a little more like soccer, but except you get to be on skates and people push and shove you, and rag on your mom and call you horrible names. Uh, so it's it's a very, very difficult. And at that level, that's what I'm saying. Like millisecond decisions have to happen. And they have to keep all this in mind, and depending on the position, all that kind of thing. So I am not going to be one of those kind of fans that's going to be, too very critical. I mean, first of all, I know that the coach is already aware of it, or the team, and because either, the players post game or pre-game or post practice, I listen to them. And sometimes they say it right out loud, man. Okay? Like, it's pretty obvious. Fewer penalties. Fewer bad penalties. It's pretty obvious. Some have had to step up where maybe they're not used to. Maybe, there's some things that happen in the second period. Could be the other team. It's probably a combination of both. But there are key players missing. And considering that there are key players missing, and Jonathan Taves he's still warming up for the season. I guarantee you, right? He gets more and more familiar with the franchise, right? And some of these other guys too. And Connery, right? The more on ice time he gets, okay, the better he becomes. Okay, so I don't know if how they're going to work that this season. As far as I've heard, Kelly, the goalie, is like usually after every 4 games rest, but maybe look at that a little differently to see about carrying a little bit fewer games. Okay, because 82 games, like even 60 games for a goalie, goalies get run into a lot. It's they don't get a chance to leave the ice as much. They have to like deal with things and think about things that players don't, and that's why they seem like weird enigmas, and they probably are. I don't care, whatever it takes for them to actually be in front of their net and do their solid best to keep the puck out, without getting bad penalties or a game misconduct. That's the one thing. It's like, ooh, goalies don't ever do that. Try not to. You know what I'm saying? Try not to. But so I'm just like, go Jets. We'll see how things go along the way. But I know that Jonathan TJ is like, or JT, sorry. Um, he's still warming back up. Okay, he was out for quite a while, and he's still getting to know all that, and like he'll start getting his rhythm. So, right, and then stand the man or stand him, stand him, stand him. I mean, he's already beat his goal record. Um, and it's good. There's defensemen who can find a way to score, and I I can't say it enough. It takes the whole friggin' bench. Okay, I I know that some of the fourth line does some heavy lifting. I know that some might actually prefer to be third or fourth line. See, that's the thing is just like some like that's a shitty line and blah blah blah, and I'm relegated just to the front. I'm like that. I doubt that a lot of them are actually thinking that way. Okay, I have listened to players for years and years and years, and I've listened to interviews of, and you know, most are just happy to be on ice playing friggin' ice, and they get paid for it, no less. Wow, yeah, like look, check you guys out. All right, what I'm saying, like, good. Um, so I'm not concerned about certain things. These things have been addressed by players post game interviews and you know head coach Scott and I they they do these things. They look, there's video, they discuss these things, but they can't really dwell on certain things because it's your next opponent. You understand? Like, okay, good, try and work on this. Good, next opponent is this. So they do have to kind of, keep that going, and keeping everybody engaged work, and it takes the whole bench. And it takes all the coaches, and it takes all the fans. And it's best to, you know, try to remember as a fan that one, none of us are out there doing it. So technically, what the fuck can we say? And try not to be armchair GMs because there's all sorts of GMs have to consider. And it's not like you can just trade for whoever the hell you want. That's not how it works. It's not. Uh, it can take few years for certain things to come to fruition, and there's stuff they probably work on that we don't know anything about at all. It doesn't always go to the press on purpose. So I am one of those that is not a lot. The numbers and the stats, there's some things, yes, but it isn't. The stats don't make the player. The players make the stats. Okay? There are times when, some players playing injured, some players got issues, and so on. Like, there's so much that we don't know as spectators and fans. Please keep that in mind. Okay? Just keep cheering on your team. Okay? Uh, they need your positiveness. Just aim positive at them. You understand? Like, have more faith in the fact that the franchise knows what to look at, right? Like, trust your franchise a little more. And also, it's like less stressful, right? Like, it is less stressful. And there's every single hockey club has a few bad games, man. You can expect that. That's just normal in the National Hockey League. Some of the guys, it might take them a little longer in the first period to get the legs going, or they might be getting a little tight in the third. Okay, these things happen. It's normal in the National Hockey League. And I know that some people say that hockey is a game of mistakes, but putting that in different words is hockey is a game of opportunities. Okay, ice hockey is a game of opportunities. It's a more positive way to look at things. Okay, because some of it's just things that happen and occur, and the way things happen. Uh, right. It's a game of opportunities. Now I call it a sport. I don't need to be entertained personally. I don't think I've ever been to a boring ice hockey game because it is exciting when your team scores. It is exciting when your team gets their 2 points in regulation. It is exciting when your team makes it into the playoffs. So personally, I don't care what I'm looking at. I mean, if they're doing something and like, what are you guys doing? Well, whatever. Like, if they got to play keep away, they got to play keep. If they got to, spend a little less time in the ozone until they can, start working on order, whatever the case may be, whatever. I don't even care. Cycle them to death. I don't care how they do it. They can be as boring as they need to be. Okay, it's just a negative way to look at it. That's just terribly negative. So, at least Jets fans, like, well, don't be negative about the whole thing. It's a game of opportunities, and None of us could go out there and do it. You know what I'm saying? And there are all sorts of considerations that a lot of ice hockey fans don't even know about, and a lot of stuff doesn't even get discussed in the press, and it's not required. And if it gives the press a hard time, it's just like, well, we're not going to discuss that. I don't know, write about something else. But as for me, yeah, now there's a police investigation going on. My medication was tampered with, and I was very, very sick for 3 weeks. And so all I can say is that, okay, if it's a spiritual situation, you've already been caught. You see what I'm saying? You've already been caught. Like, just stop. But I do have, a neurological disorder, and there are some days when I can walk better than other days. I do in-home therapy for my legs and walking, but I'm also now have to do some physical therapy for my between my shoulder blades. A lot of that is also fibromyalgia. There's no cure, no known cure. Okay, I mean, I'm not afraid of life. You understand? I'm not afraid of dying. I'm not afraid of any of that. I mean, I know my body better than anybody else. But yes, unfortunately, a few of us had our medications tampered with. So, uh, whoever it is eventually their conscience is just gonna, right? They're gonna make a mistake. Something will happen. So there's been an investigation, uh, still being investigated. I'm not the only one. I wasn't targeted specifically. But this is how life works sometimes. You get a possible sociopath working for the program that I'm in. They'll get caught. But when it comes to spiritual things, it's like you've already been caught. You might be like you think of the possibility here. Don't you think maybe some of it was too easy? Right. I don't set traps, but don't you think about it? Okay. I I can't be more sincere about that. And there are times when I'm like, okay, well, you're not going to put that in any goalie's head. So if it comes with me rather than them, so fucking be it. Like, I at some point just had enough of people thinking that they know what the fuck they're talking about when it comes to goaltending in the National Hockey. I don't need revenge. Never go looking for it. I don't want anybody to suffer. Right? Okay, that's what you guys do with this, duality. Eye for an eye, like you're all using dark psychology. I'm like, well, a lot of you have some serious freaking issues, and you need to, take the time and do the work to, yes, look at yourself internally and look at the things you've done. You understand? You got to know yourself really well, and you might run across stuff like, ooh, geez, maybe I should not be doing that. Okay, I've already done the work. I'm a decent human being. I'm a loving, caring, decent human being. That hasn't changed. It's not going to change. Love above all else. Okay. Any spiritual attacks on me, okay, all that's doing is basically what some of you are doing, but you realize you're not. You were given a shovel, and now you're digging your own holes in the graves. Okie dokie. That's what's happening. So I can only say that, yeah, I mean, I have to go to a lot of appointments all the time, and things will shift and change, but I definitely need a new hip. Uh, so walking sometimes is more difficult for me. And sleeping can get difficult for me. So I've been dealing with health issues for quite a while. And I worked disabled for quite some time. Um, so I'm not one of those people bitching about, oh, you're going to take away my food stamps. I'm like, I doubt it. I mean, my entire family is deceased. I worked for a long time. Oh, I gotta go. Yep, check in and start, and I'm sure that's what it is. So, okay, uh, I do the best I can every day. Um, when it comes to ice hockey, it's pretty much all I have to look forward to. So summers are much more difficult for me. But I don't want any bad things happening to anybody. I mean, that's not something I'd ever wish for.